nice because you want to make sure you get this good thumbnail out of it. And I feel like you could participate in the banter and it
I
would
could do.
work
What's
just
the
fine.
deal with airline food? I could do the banter.
What's the deal with airline food? Okay, so this makes you Laurel and me Hardy or something like that at this point.
Right.
Oh, the airline food. Anyway, oh boy.
Exactly.
Well, now that you all have experienced that lovely bantering session coming on in, welcome. Welcome to another Unauthorized Caucus. It's Thursday, it's noon, it's time for a caucus, and this time it actually is one. Last week I was flying solo. I appreciate you joining me, but this week we've got a little bit of a similar topic, and Mr. Andrew Muller is back to talk with us. The sad news, though, is we've only got Andrew for maybe a couple of more weeks or so, and that's twofold. It's exciting on one end, because we do have a new member coming in here to the Phillips-Schlafly Eagles family, familiar face that some of you will recognize from last summer. He's coming back to work here, so that's exciting. Starting in July, we'll introduce him. But Andrew has moved on from the Pillar Foundation into different pursuits, different field, same arena. How about we call it that?
Yeah.
Doing good work. But Andrew, you want to tell us what you're spinning off to start doing now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to work for Alex Newman. Maybe you guys have heard of him. I know he's done a lot of collaborative work with Phillips-Schlafly Eagles. Alex Newman and Liberty Sentinel Media down in the good state of Florida. Going to be working for Alex, also doing some writing and contributing for the New American magazine. And if you want to follow what Alex and I will be doing and Alex's work, that hopefully, Lord willing, I'll be able to continue to help him pump out and get to many screens and ears as possible. You can go to libertysentinel.org, and that is where all the happening things are being posted. You can also follow Alex on Twitter. I think it's Alex Newman _JOU, like the beginning of journalism or something like that. And when you get to Alex's website, there'll be a little pop-up. You can join his Substack newsletter for free. Or you can become a paid member of that, and you will get every Tuesday and Thursday the best and brightest of Alex's articles, videos, speaking schedules, etc. And you will be on the forefront of his journalistic endeavors to expose globalism and the deep state.
That is awesome. I know that many of you are familiar. We've had Alex Newman at our events for a long time. He has been a part of our Phillips-Schlafly Eagles family here and a part of the work that we've been doing. And actually, I know that I'll say this. I'm sending out the links as we go here. But one of my favorite stories, when we first got to know Alex was a somebody all along. He was doing good work and pursuing what needed to be done. But I tell you what, I feel like, and tell me if you think I'm wrong here, Andrew, do you feel like maybe the New American was kind of always there and steadily pumping, but it was when Crimes of the Educators, his book that he co-authored with Sam Blumenfeld, when that hit the market? What was that, 2012, 2013?
Yeah,
I think when that one hit the market, I feel like that's when I started to hear his name a lot more from people who hadn't known him before. And I remember, and this is a little Phyllis tidbit, when it first kind of came on the radar, Phyllis Schlafly, who I worked for several years before she passed and loved dearly as an employer, she said something to the effect of, not knowing who Alex Newman was, but she said, I tell you what, if he's good enough for Sam Blumenfeld on education, he's good enough for me and anyone else. And that was high praise. So Alex, from the very beginning, just like I feel the opportunity to Phillips-Schlafly, Alex knew who was doing the good work, not just the right side of the issue or convenient or flashy or big attention. Sam Blumenfeld did the work on education, and he pulled out truth in places that no one knew almost even existed. So I'm very grateful for Alex kind of coming into our lives that way, because it just brought with him this instant credibility that, I mean, I'm not trying to put someone on a pedestal, but he hasn't failed yet. He is always laser focused on the truth and on finding it. And that's what we need. So I'm excited, Andrew. I'm sad for the folks that you've been working with, that you're leaving behind, all the Teen Eagles and different things. But I am excited for the Liberty Sentinel organization and for the New American and Alex moving forward. I think it's a pretty good move. So I'm looking forward to it. We need that to explode a little bit more.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ryan. Speaking of all of that, let me actually drop one more thing here. The New American, this is the tidbit. The New American is one of the ones that we look at every day here at Phillips-Schlafly Eagles. So that's a great news source if you're looking for them. But speaking of all these truth tellers, that's kind of what we thought we should talk about today. I think that there's a lot of headlines this week that have captured your attention. Trump January 6 hearings, maybe. Matt Gaetz finally hosting hearings, not from the Nancy Pelosi unselect committee, but we're talking in Congress about the January 6th issue on its own merit correctly. But between that and Trump and then all of these things floating around, swimmers, one of the teammates from Pennsylvania from this guy, Leah Thomas, she's finally come out and is speaking publicly here on the 1-year anniversary of her anonymous interview with What is a Woman with Matt Walsh. Riley Gaines has been in the news. We're seeing all kinds of headlines about Muslim families and parents in communities around the country marching against pride events and sexuality in schools. We're seeing all sorts of things happen. In fact, this morning we highlighted there's a high schooler, I think a high schooler in Idaho, who was not allowed to walk for graduation because of something he had said on the gender issue at an assembly. It is, and I mean, this has gone beyond cancel culture. I mean, it still is cancel culture. This is what we've seen, but it has become so pervasive and pernicious across the board, even directed at young people, at students. Cancel culture doesn't feel like a strong enough phrase to me for the anger and the frustration I feel over this. So there's a common thread here behind all of this, whether it's Donald Trump hitting up a Cuban place in Miami after his arraignment and then getting, lambasted from CNN, or it's this high schooler in Idaho who's not allowed to walk because of something he said. When people stand up and say, things that are true, when they're speaking the truth, they're going to take the heat for it. And we got to stand up behind them. We have to be with them. We have to promote them. We have to work overtime. And I think this is something that we as conservatives need to talk about and see each and every opportunity on its own, but make sure that we draw all of these together. The full weight of the federal government coming down on the political opponent of the sitting president of the United States is the same thing as a high schooler being told you can't walk because you said men are men and women are women and there are no different. There is no way to differentiate and hop across the spectrum as much as you want. This is the same thing. And I think that we need to be relentlessly drawing that conclusion for people to stick in their minds. What do you think, Andrew? Are people actually with us on this? Have we lost the battle with the mushy middle? They don't really care. Are they just that disconnected? Where are we going with all this stuff?
Well, I think there's a lot of people, Ryan, that are on our side, that are on the side of common sense and basic truths. But this is the thing, and I'm going to throw out a movie reference here in about 20 seconds that hopefully will illuminate the understanding a little bit. Yeah. But you have a group of people at the elitist level who, in the Republican Party, in the Democratic Party, in the deep state, in the federal government, where you have this illusion of a Republican form of government. And we do still have a Republican form of government. I'm not one of those people that say, oh, it's just a sham and, there's no choice at all. That doesn't matter. Just be a defeatist. I'm not one of those people at all. But there is a truth to the statement that there is a duopoly at the highest level where there is this kind of uniparty mindset. And there are people at the top who are pulling the strings that want to intimidate the truth tellers and the truth speakers because they know that we can win and we have won and the truth is on our side and the history is on our side. So they want to oppress us and make an example out of us. I think of Roger Stone and how he was, attacked and gone after. I think of Donald Trump, who's currently being indicted and who was attacked and who is going after. I'm thinking about this kid you talked about, Ryan, who, you know what? Hey, you went against us, so we're taking something precious from you. I'm thinking of Riley Gaines, who you mentioned, girl who's a beautiful young lady, a swimmer, world in front of her, future very bright, and wokeism comes in and steals away her academic future and athletic future. This is the movie reference. Remember the movie Braveheart, right? You had King Edward Longshanks and this little group of tyrants at the top. There was really this Scottish revolution that was forming under William Wallace, who is this Braveheart figure, right? And he's leading this grassroots movement, if you will, against the king. Now, at this point, it almost seems like the grassroots is unstoppable. The movement and the momentum of Wallace and his troops are unstoppable. But William Wallace ends up getting captured and gets brutally tortured. And if you've ever seen the movie and you remember, King Edward the Longshanks is on his deathbed. His reign is going out the window. It's pretty obvious that the Scottish revolutionaries are going to win. But they know if they can kill the morale of the truth tellers by taking out Wallace, maybe, just maybe, they will end up kowtowing and the little petty tyrants at the top will win. If you've seen the movie, while they're horribly executing William Wallace and torturing him, they keep whispering in his ear, just just say no. Just say you regret everything you've done. Just kiss the ring of the king. Just kiss the ring of the king, and it'll all end, and we'll just kill you peacefully, and it'll all be over. And then in the beautiful Hollywood built for the silver screen movement, Mel Gibson, as William Wallace, yells out freedom at the top of his lungs with his dying breath, charges the revolution. They go to the Battle of Bannockburn, I think it was called, and absolutely slaughter and win and bring about, Scottish independence. The revolutionaries and the grassrooters had the power, they had the momentum, but the petty tyrants at the top thought they could oppress the truth tellers by killing their morale. But with the dying breath of the biggest truth teller in the revolution, William Wallace, who's almost like this George Washington figure, if you will, cries out freedom and charges the revolution. For those that are out there right now in America crying freedom at the top of their lungs, we need in the same manner to rally around them and support them. Maybe you don't agree with them on every single nitpicking issue.
Right.
But our guns, our metaphorical guns, are pointing at the same target. We're fighting the same enemy. We're engaging in the same battle against the darkness and the Marxism and the globalism and the tyranny that wishes to suppress and oppress those who fight for God-given rights and liberties in our constitutional republic. And Ryan, you said this before we even started the live stream, is that we don't love America because just America, guns, rah, rah, 4th of July. That's all great, and we do love that. But we love it because the truth upon which it's built. And that's what the petty tyrants hate. They hate the truth upon which America is built, those pillars of American exceptionalism, that, we have a government that is instituted among men deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed to protect God-ordained, God-given rights. And ultimately, it's a spiritual battle. These people who are evil, not these people who are just the little minions in your office who repeat the liberal talking points. I'm not saying they're evil, but the people at the top, these people who are evil, that really harbor evil in their hearts towards others, who want to oppress and take away the liberties of others, they're ultimately at war with God. If they know it or not, they're at war with God. So for those of us that are on the side of liberty, who hear those people like William Wallace crying freedom, we need to rally around them and support them and say, you know what? No, you're not going to imprison Donald Trump. You're not going to take away everything from Roger Stone or whoever it may be, whoever they're pointing their guns at. We're going to stick with this person. We're going to donate to them. We're going to subscribe to their thing. We're going to share their content, whatever it may be. We're going to support them. And that's how we ultimately win.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. I think this is and I know, we always, pardon me, one of our staff, who shall remain nameless, although I know she's watching and will hear it. She doesn't like it when we agree because disagreement's better for internet videos. But I tell you what, this is the truth, though. The Braveheart analogy is a wonderful analogy because you're right. And that really does speak to where we are right now. It's not so much that we don't, in America, the modern conservative movement, it's not that we don't have the truth, that we don't have the facts, that we don't have the biology, that we're not right. We are right. We are right on so many of these issues. But the problem is there is a huge machine actively trying to crush actively trying to suppress that truth and crush the people saying it, but primarily to crush our morale. That's really what it is. I mean, inarguably, I think that's what the whole January 6th investigation has been about, because it extended beyond just hating on Trump, who was kind of always the, stand in front of the cameras. Bring it on. Is that all you've got? Well, now they start coming after the little guy. They start ripping people out of their homes. They start raiding houses. They start arresting people, throwing them in jail without due process, without hearings, without anything, and scaring everyone half to death. Well, more than that, because they're realizing, like, oh my gosh, they're actually going to come for me. And I think that, this is the biggest fear tactic that I've ever seen in America, a display of power. And we've seen some pretty awful stuff in the shadows, especially, but they are actively trying to break the morale of anyone. And make no mistake, this is where I think we need to be abundantly clear. Watching what's happening to the January 6th defendants is in fact a tactic to break the morale of those of us who just want to speak out about, transgender isn't real. Men are men, women are women. You can't change that. There are only two genders. These basic things that we all want to say, we are afraid to say them because of what we're watching on January 6th. Now, people may not understand that connection. They may not realize, but that's like, these things are connected. And those of us looking at this field need to understand exactly how connected they are. And to your point, my primary message for people that I feel like is really hard for them to get around, because it's a matter of backing up and seeing the whole field. I don't care if you do or don't support Donald Trump, as far as he's your choice for president. You loved his presidency, you didn't. That's not what this is about. If they can steamroll him and go around the justice system, what do you think they're going to do to you? Yeah. Our entire nation, and again, yes, we did bring this up, and here's your little preview. We're going to talk a lot about this on our Collegians live stream. So everyone, all young people who are listening, you need to tune back in Tuesday night at 5 p.m. We're going to go live here, there, everywhere, wherever you are. Facebook, Twitter, Rumble, YouTube. Go and register now, phyllisschlafly.com/collegians. Sign up. You'll get all the alerts and you'll get in. We are going to be talking about the power of patriotism, loving your country. And it's not about just being a nationalist. I love my country because what it stands for, the principles that are behind it. And one of those biggest principles is dissent. I mean, America is founded on dissent, being contrary to, disagreeing, having a different opinion than the official position. To say, hey, wait a minute, that's not how that should be. That's like the whole fundamental point of why our country exists. Because a bunch of colonists said, no, wait a minute, this isn't how you treat British citizens. You need to listen to us. And then years and years, listen to us. Listen, you know what? Fine. We're not a part of England any longer. There's an escalation, and it was all based on dissent. We have the right, the God-given right, to express an opinion different than the pervasive official position, especially when that official position is violating the God-given human rights, inalienable rights that that are bestowed to all of us. So to take that away, which is exactly what they're doing, whether it's silencing Trump, silencing the female swimmers in college athletics, silencing high schoolers who want to just walk across and graduate, silencing them is taking away the core principle of dissent, which is what our country is founded upon. And that affects people who believe in gay marriage and people who don't. People who believe that you should have the right to have an abortion and people who don't. That covers every side of every spectrum of all of these issues, both moral, civil, legal, preferential, everything in between. If we don't have the right to dissent, there is no more field in which to have these conversations and make public policy. It's a group of, the oligarchs, the elites, that just steamroll you with whatever they want, and you're not allowed to say otherwise. That should terrify everyone. And I think that's the reason we've seen this, the bird pain in some of these other places where they go, hey, wait a minute. It's these Bible-thumping conservatives that actually believe I have the right to say something. You don't believe either of us has the right to say something. That's in fact accurate. That's in fact accurate. That's what's going on. So, I mean, to your point, if they're going to break the morality, if they're going to break the morale of all of us as conservatives, that's a loss for everyone across the board. And I think that we need to be the ones preaching that, hey, we're all on the same side on this issue. Because if they're going to do it to them, to him, to her, to all of these other people, they're coming for us next. I think that we need to draw the conclusion of all of these things together and see what it means. And that's really kind of the path that we need to be pointed toward.
Yeah, 100%. And so, when I was talking about the William Wallace and the Braveheart part, that's talking about the tyrants and the petty tyrants and the oligarchs at the top. But let's talk about us for a second, the people, the patriots who are at the bottom here. G.K. Chesterton said this, and I think it's a brilliant quote. He said, every high civilization decays by forgetting obvious things. And that's exactly where America is today. What is a woman? The fact that we're having that conversation, right? Should we even have property? What's marriage? What's the role of government? Should we keep babies alive? These basic, obvious pillars of society and truth. The fact that we're forgetting these obvious things. This is the cancer and the mind virus that is plaguing America. And it's actually a really simple thing. You don't have to have a PhD in political science. You don't have to have a law degree or degree in economics to figure some of these things out. They're obvious, they're plain, they're simple truths that we've forgotten, and they've been beaten out of us through all these different narrative machines, as Ed so brilliantly calls it. I love that tagline, but it's brilliant because it is being beaten out of us by the narrative machine, by academia, by education, the removal, the eradication, the forgetting of obvious things. And when people stand up, and here's a second quote that's brilliant, my final quote that I'll share with you, is that anybody can help fight this battle. Anybody can say obvious and simple and plain things. You don't have to be a beautiful orator or communicator to say some of these truths. You just have to have courage. Billy Graham, the famous evangelist, preacher, crusader, he said this: when a brave man takes a stand, the spines of others are often stiffened. And when you say something that's true to an audience, somebody might say, you know what, I also think that. And you know what, the fact that Ryan said that, the fact that Andrew said that, the fact that Ed said that, or that Alex said that, you know what, I'm going to go and say that. I'm going to go and share that with people. The sharing of truth is contagious. The sharing of true discourse and facts is contagious. And we have that on our side. The left doesn't. They have to use violence and intimidation and, the legal community and tyranny and the bureaucracy to force their way. We have the truth. And if we remind each other of those obvious things, if we have the courage to share those obvious things with others, the spines of our fellow countrymen will be stiffened. The remembrance of those obvious principles will be reoccurred, and we can take back our country. But it takes courage, and it takes the repeating of those things. You can't just say it once and then be like, all right, I checked my box. I can go along now. The record of the universe can record that I said, that there's a man and a woman, and there's only two genders, so I'm good for the rest of my life. No, this is every day, every opportunity you have the chance, speaking the truth, sharing the gospel, the Great Commission. That's how we combat the Great Reset, with the Great Commission, ultimately, the sharing of the gospel. Because a great mentor of mine once told me this: what's easier, to talk with somebody about every single issue that's in a Christian worldview or a conservative worldview and try to convince them of that, or change the one thing that enlightens their opinions on all those things, which is their belief or faith in Jesus Christ and the voluntary lordship and submitting to that he offers, Jesus does. And that changes everything. So if you can share that truth with one person and their whole worldview will be changed and they're discipled, then they'll start to think biblically about all these things. And that's the most patriotic thing that you can ultimately do, is share the gospel with people and disciple them, because then they'll naturally, through the self-government of Christianity, begin to believe these things in accordance to the scriptures. And you don't have to have all these debates and convince everybody on every little nitpicking detail. But the reoccurrence of those fundamental principles and the sharing and preaching of those is the only way we can do it.
Absolutely. I don't have a whole lot more to tack on. I'd like to leave it there, because that was one thing that was something similar I was going to draw to at the end, and you just said it. So we'll leave it. That's it, people. This is, I think that's the two takeaways, really, that there are for us, is that these are all connected. This is about the right to dissent to the official opinion. And that must be preserved. So whether you like it or not, if it's popular in your world to support O'Reilly Gaines, but not to stand up for Donald Trump, I need you to understand these are one and the same. This fight of speaking the truth and being punished for it by powers that don't like it, we got to stand up for these people. These are our William Wallaces, because if they're going to be made an example of over and over again, well, the rest of us will look around and go, well, I guess it's over. I mean, if that person can't take it, neither can I. So I'm going to have to stop here. That can't happen. And ultimately, at the end of it all, we can talk about these issues. And this is a good breakaway issue to get people to understand kind of a part of the field. We're just talking about this one. But unless we have some serious major reforms of the hearts and minds of Americans and some understanding of what's going on here, a shift in morality, which ultimately, as Andrew said, that is people turning toward understanding the author of morality and truth itself. Until that happens, all we're going to do is keep putting Band-Aids on these issues and fighting them over and over again. So we need to take that individual responsibility to go and get people from the ground up to change their worldview. And then all of these things are going to start to fall in. There'll be some conversation still, but it all falls into place after that. So there's your opportunity. Invite someone to Collegians. Come to Collegians yourself. And when I say come, go and sign up, and we'll make sure you get it digitally. Hopefully this is our last digital year in DC, as it's all getting back to normal. So go there. I dropped a link in the discussion down here, phyllisschlafly.com/collegians. Let me double check our live chat and Rumble, make sure we haven't missed any questions. I've seen a few people jumping in and commenting, but it's gotten a little light the last couple of weeks. Some of our regulars are gone. We need you to come back. You can't be sad just because Andrew's leaving and it was my face only. I promise. We have some really neat stuff in store, and we got a few faces you haven't seen yet that are coming. So hop in, get down there, leave comments after the fact of the video, please. That's the number one thing that helps the algorithm put this in front of other people. Leave us a comment. Give us some feedback. What should we talk about? We're going to have a lot of stuff to talk about after Collegians next week. So go sign up for that. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on this video, whatever platform you're on, and primarily, which I forgot to mention at the beginning because we were bantering. Andrew, you got me all off and with your ridiculous airline food. But go to, that's what I was going to say, airline food. Go to phyllisschlafly.com and sign up for the email. You'll get the Wink email every morning. You'll get a few other things. You're going to get a lot of advertisements reminding you about Collegians the next few days. And primarily, of course, most importantly, as Andrew and I would attest, about an hour before noon on Thursdays, you're going to get a reminder to come and see us and talk to us here in this format. So I appreciate you all being with us. Thank you for being there. Don't forget to go and check out all the things that Andrew's going to be doing with Alex Newman and Liberty Sentinel coming up in the future. There's a lot of great interviews that are already starting to roll out this week under the reign of Andrew. I'm just kidding, Alex. If you hear this, still retweet it. Oh, Andrew, you can probably retweet it for us. Anyway, we know the people behind the no. We're excited for that. Go check it out, everyone. And don't forget to come back here next Thursday, first on Tuesday night, but then again on Thursday at noon next week for another very unauthorized caucus. We appreciate you being with us. Have a